Today on Investigate TV Plus, a rare but scary issue, electric vehicles igniting while parked or charging. I'm Tisha Powell.
And I'm Lee Zurich. Some EV owners unsure if they're safe in their own homes.
In your sleep and your car catches fire and you have no way of knowing.
Spontaneous electric vehicle fires leaving families to pay the price.
Plus, the high cost of medical supplies creating a booming underground economy.
I evaluate them, I check the expiration, I check the quality of them, and then I buy it off them.
And cryptocurrency scams draining victims of their life savings.
Emotionally drained, physically drained, psychologically drained.
We show you how to spot the red flags.
In-depth stories that inform and inspire. You're watching Investigate TV Plus. Reports of cars catching fire sparking concern among car owners. We're talking about sudden fires in electric vehicles.
According to data analytics company Experian, there are already more than 1.7 million EVs on the roads in the U.S. But some of these green cars come with a risk that could have drivers seeing red, battery fires, and recall repairs taking months, even years.
Investigative reporter Josie Sturman dug through government records, finding while they are rare, these fires have car owners concerned as they wait for a permanent fix.
Flames shoot from the garage of a home in Virginia in May 2021 as firefighters rush to the scene.
Is everybody out?
The homeowner and his family watch in disbelief.
The house is on fire.
Okay. It's pretty bad. It's very bad, actually.
As neighbors flood 911 with calls and record the devastation unfolding on their phones.
There's a little fire in the garage. It's now out.
It was an ordeal. The family and fire officials say all began with an electric vehicle in the garage.
A smoke coming from the car and the car charging.
Spontaneous fires in electric vehicles, or EVs, are a rare but alarming scenario that's been reported across the country. As far back as 2020, documents we uncovered from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, or NHTSA, show multiple car manufacturers have reported safety defects with their EV batteries that could spark a fire. And tens of thousands of cars have been recalled because of the risk of ignition in EVs that are charging or even after they've been unplugged.
The battery enters a state where it catches on fire. This can happen for a number of reasons, and sometimes they're even undetermined.
Michael Brooks with the Center for Auto Safety says the mystery of the battery's root problem is being investigated by the government. In the meantime, some EV owners are left with restrictions on how they can charge and where they can park, cars that can't go as far as designed, and fears about what could happen to the vehicles sitting under their roofs or just outside the door.
It's concerning because it's a different type of danger. You know, you're not in your car, you're in your house and you're asleep and your car catches fire and you have no way of knowing.
Our investigative team discovered NHTSA records that show it's happened nationwide, with many involving Chevy Bolts. The company, which declined our interview requests, has recalled more than 100,000 cars for repair because of the battery fire defect. According to files examined by our investigative team, Chevy was aware of at least 24 Bolt fires as of April 2022. The company's permanent fix? Replacing the batteries. But Brooks says supply chain issues extended wait times, leaving many drivers in limbo.
Everybody who has one of these cars, they just have to wait.
It's kind of the rule with NHTSA. It's tough luck. You know, the manufacturer issues a recall, and we see this all the time. Folks are having to sit for up to a year or more, many times waiting for the repair, and people are basically being told, suck it up.
Meantime, Chevy and the other companies impacted by the battery defect have taken steps to minimize risk. Bolt owners were originally told to limit charging, avoid running their batteries below 70 miles to empty, and to park outside immediately after charging and not leave the car indoors overnight. In December 2021, more than a year after the first of the Bolt recalls, Chevy came up with a software update to mitigate the threat, limiting the Bolt's charge to 80% and lifting those earlier restrictions for those who get it. But that's far from the final fix.
It's certainly, more than disappointing. It's outrageous, and you can see why these owners are complaining to NHTSA.
Many are angry, saying they can't charge or drive their cars as much as expected.
To have it just sitting out there and have to look at it every day, what's that like?
It's terrible. I've spent thousands of dollars on that car, and now I can barely even drive it. And it's just heartbreaking.
Jada Nabry got a Chevy Bolt with help from her mom, Stephanie, back in 2020. Although the company's software update alleviated some of the family's concern, Stephanie says it created other problems.
And it decreased the mileage that she could go quite a bit. It becomes this game every day. Okay, where am I going? How far can I go? Did I charge the car enough overnight?
It's that kind of concern that's prompted a call for Chevy to compensate people who've been waiting months or even years for those long-promised replacement batteries. Some want buybacks, which Chevy tells us it's doing on a case-by-case basis, as attorneys like Bob Silverman file claims on behalf of frustrated owners like the Nabrys.
And the biggest problem is there's no alternative transportation available. So there's no rental cars, there's nothing available, and they're really out in the cold.
Out in the cold over concerns about an electric vehicle that could bring the heat when you least expect it.
Chevy wouldn't tell us how many Bolt owners have gotten the software updates.
The company also wouldn't provide any specifics on how many batteries it has replaced or how long the whole process will take. Chevy says replacements have been made to the majority of Bolt owners, and it's making progress every day.
Coming up on Investigate TV Plus, cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and Ethereum have seen a meteoric rise over the past few years. Scammers took notice and they're targeting you, how you can keep your money safe.
Plus, street sales of medical supplies create concern among doctors.
The concern is, of course, for my patient's health.
At the center of the controversy, these diabetic test strip sale signs.
There's an underground marketplace booming, and it's for diabetic test strips. It sounds unusual, but according to the CDC, 37 million people have diabetes, and another 96 million adults have pre-diabetes, which means they could develop the disease in the future. One critical component of living with diabetes is daily tests using one of these paper strips to test blood sugar. And according to the Mayo Clinic, a patient may have to test their blood sugar up to 10 times per day. We looked at prices and did the math. At 40 cents a strip, that's about $1,500 per year. Not to mention the cost of other supplies for diabetics like a blood glucose meter, insulin, and syringes.
Reporter Rachel Polanski shows us how the demand for these supplies is causing concern among doctors.
Here's an unusual offer, popping up on hundreds of signs across Metro Atlanta.
Suburbs and within the perimeter. I've done over 500 signs within the past 6 months.
Meet the man behind the signs, Ray Donovan, who tells us there's a booming underground economy for diabetic test strips.
This is my full-time job.
While each disposable piece of plastic may look insignificant, diabetic test strips provide an essential role in helping the 37 million Americans with diabetes monitor their blood sugar daily. Turns out, they're also a money-making venture.
It's diabetics that have an extra amount of test strips, pumps, Dexcom 6s. They have extra diabetic testing supplies. I meet up with them, I evaluate them, I check the expiration, I check the quality of them, and then I buy it off them.
Usually the buyers are uninsured and unable to pay retail prices, while the sellers are insured with a surplus of product. At least that was the case for diabetic Laura Miller, who sold hundreds of dollars worth of diabetic supplies to Donovan.
What happened was I had switched insurance, and all of a sudden in a month and a half I had like 4 different test meters and all the test strips and the lancets and everything, like coming at me every other day in the mail.
A lot of stuff.
Miller wanted to make it clear that she's not rationing insulin and she's not selling supplies for the money. In fact, she only took $100 from Donovan, even though her supplies were worth triple that amount.
I told him nothing over that, no matter what.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I did it because I had an abundant amount and I didn't want them to go to waste.
I got your text messages about your supplies and equipment, and I'm really interested in the test strips. And
While it is legal to resell unused diabetic test strips, the practice has raised concerns from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, who said using pre-owned test strips may potentially cause infection or lead to inaccurate test results, which can cause serious harm, including death. Noonan Dr. Cecil Bennett also warns against the practice.
The concern is, of course, for my patient's health. If we're using strips that are inaccurate, basically we cannot manage that patient properly, and we may be undertreating them or overtreating them, which leads to further complications.
Among those complications, hyperglycemia, which happens when blood sugar levels are too high, and hypoglycemia, which sets in when blood sugar levels are too low.
And both could be medical emergencies.
Back on the street, I shared Dr. Bennett's concerns with Donovan, who says he takes precautions to ensure the products he's buying are legitimate, including only buying diabetic supplies that are sealed and within the expiration date.
If someone would have approached you with this pack, what would catch your eye about this?
That's not sealed.
So you wouldn't buy that?
Oh, definitely not.
Still, Dr. Bennett says buying pre-owned supplies is a gamble.
I'm surprised that it's legal.
That's not worth the payout for diabetics.
I really appreciate you calling us in, and I'll see you Thursday at 11.
I have no confidence in someone outside of the medical profession making a judgment as to whether or not these strips are good or not good.
Another option for people with diabetes is a continuous glucose monitor, or a CGM. It works through a tiny sensor under the skin, and it measures glucose levels every few minutes. Patients can then check their blood sugar levels on a screen, but it comes at a cost. Some CGM programs we found are as much as $400 a month.
Still ahead on Investigate TV Plus.
We started doing a couple little trades like that. I put in like 1,000.
Cryptocurrency scams. We'll inform you of ways to spot the signs.
Valued at $1.2 trillion, and you can't even see it or hold it. We're talking about cryptocurrency. We saw its value explode virtually overnight. When Bitcoin was created in 2009, it was worth less than a penny. At its peak in April of 2021, it was valued at $64,800. Even the Federal Reserve says it's considering a digital currency to compete with the crypto boom and to expand safe payment options. According to payment service AAA, just 13% of Americans own cryptocurrency, and many more have concerns about its safety. Pew Research from March of 2023 shows 75% of Americans surveyed are not confident in crypto's safety and reliability. Crypto's growth in the U.S., coupled with Americans' lack of confidence, is proving to be the perfect recipe for scammers.
According to the FBI's Internet Crimes Complaint Center, crypto scams jumped a whopping 180% from 2021 to 2022, making up the majority of investment fraud. Here's how to be your own investigator and avoid becoming a target. It all happened in the span of a month.
Just trying to figure out how I'm going to get out of it, how I'm going to get my bills paid off.
Dennis Corey's world turned upside down as an online scam left him hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt and nearly penniless.
He was a mutual friend, or I thought he was a mutual friend of a friend on Facebook, and so then we just started chatting.
What unfolded next is what the FBI calls a tried and true textbook case of a social media scam.
With the socially engineered crypto investment fraud schemes, somebody will get in touch with somebody via social media. They'll eventually move them into perhaps a private messaging chat.
Corey says the man he was chatting with enticed him with an opportunity to make some quick money through crypto trading, and even loaned him some money to get started.
And we started doing a couple little trades like that. I put in like 1,000, then we put in another 1,000. And he's like, well, if we get, to the next level, if you come up with $50,000, then we can put in, then you can make some higher trades, make more money.
Once they're in, what they're doing is creating them to invest more and invest more. They may even link it to a false app or a false website, so people can actually go check and think, hey, my portfolio is growing fantastically.
Then getting the money back out became impossible.
And they started coming up and saying, oh, you have to pay a tax fee.
Desperate to collect what Corey thought was hundreds of thousands of dollars in profit, Corey says he took out a loan to pay what he thought was a tax fee, only to be told afterward that he had to pay a certification fee and then later a transfer fee. Before it was all said and done, Corey says he took out loans, advances on credit cards, and wiped out his savings. $200,000 gone.
Emotionally drained, physically drained, psychologically drained.
In his 60s, he fears for his finances in the future, saying anxiety and depression started to consume his life.
It prevent somebody else from getting involved in this and ruin their life like this, then it's probably worth it. But it's not worth the amount of money that I lost to me.
I don't think a lot of people know about the Bitcoin machines.
They're relatively new inside gas stations, but they're in all 50 states. Bitcoin machines used to turn cash into cryptocurrency, but now scammers are using them to trick you into handing over your cash.
It's the same thing as the debit card or the gift card scams that you hear about often.
The scam's so prevalent, the FBI has put out a warning detailing how it works. According to the FBI, scammers provide a QR code associated with the scammer's cryptocurrency wallet. Then they direct the victim to a crypto ATM to insert their money, purchase cryptocurrency, and upload it to the scammer's wallet. That very scam cost an Omaha, Nebraska woman $6,000.
He just told me to keep him on the phone so that I would not be lost, so he could continue to help me.
Her identity is hidden out of fear for the scammers and embarrassment. She says a phony security agent said her bank account was hacked.
To protect my account, he would just hold it aside till we figured out who was doing the scamming, and then I would get it back.
The money deposited in a Bitcoin ATM.
These suspects are very convincing. They make the victims very nervous. They feel like they are in trouble, and they're just trying to fix the situation by giving this money away.
The Federal Trade Commission says this kind of scam is attractive to scammers because there's no bank to flag suspicious activity. Crypto transfers can't be reversed, and many people are still unfamiliar with cryptocurrency.
It's heartbreaking to hear. One of the big problems with cryptocurrency is that you see these false promises of easy money being combined with people's limited knowledge or limited experience with cryptocurrency, and it sets it up for really the perfect storm for a scam.
Coming up on Investigate TV Plus, you've heard of 100 bottles of beer on the wall, but how about 9,000 cans?
Like any habit, it gets out of control.
His favorite can in his prized collection. This Wisconsin man discovered his hobby a little later in life. He was 65 when he started collecting beer cans.
And that was 25 years ago. Reporter Jeff Alexander takes us to the small town of New Franken outside of Green Bay, Wisconsin, where you'll find thousands of beer cans on the wall.
And this row is all 25 ounce, any kind of beer.
Leland Bainan is quite proud of his ever-growing collection.
A lot of time put in there, a lot of time.
Born and raised in New Franken, Leland took over his father's dairy farm. Then, after selling to his son in 1996, he built a home on nearby family property. And in the ceiling of his new basement, he placed a small collection of beer cans started by his son.
But who wants to sit there and look at their neck up there? My neck would get sore, so I started to...
Leland started to collect, and it was full steam ahead.
Like any habit, it gets out of control. Same as anybody else. Anything you do, there's no end to it.
And there's no place Leland wouldn't search to add another can.
I think the most I ever paid was about $15.
He discovered grocery stores, antique shops, flea markets, and estate sales all offered potential treasures.
Estates are the best, because then people sell what was the treasure to them. Rummage sell, they sell what they want to get rid of.
Within a year, Leland realized he'd better start collecting some lumber.
Way over half a mile of shelving in here. That's a long board. Took a couple of years, different time to design. I'd do it one way, I didn't like it, I'd change it. I'd have to design it my way, and it ended up this way.
With his basement becoming a beer can museum, Leland joined the Beer Can Collectors of America. The club recently renamed itself the Brewery Collectibles Club of America.
Then we have a local club. It's a Parker chapter of the Six Pack Club. And we have a little over 200 members. The last time I looked, it changes all the time.
In recent years, Leland has added decanters, beer mugs and steins, shot glasses, and coffee mugs to his collection.
That's very neat. I paid quite a bit for that.
But his pride and joy are the beer cans, arranged by brand and history.
The oldest brewery in America, I have some of those. It's 1829.
By country crafted.
I had that one alley there that's foreign beer cans from other countries. That's all it is.
Or some other unique theme.
See, each one of these are a different ski resort. I bought at a convention in St. Louis. Somebody had them all put together.
At last count, Leland's beer can collection tops 9,000. Total items on display, more than 15,000.
They rust out with beer in it. Then you got a mess.
And only a few times over the years can Leland recall pouring himself a few too many.
Oh yeah, a couple times, plenty. A couple times, enough. I won't tell you about the rest of the times.
And what about a favorite beer? Out of all these options, there has to be one, right?
Yeah, I have a favorite kind. Cold and free.
Leland says he'll never sell his collection. He hopes one of his grandkids will take it over and grow it one day when he's gone. If not, he says his family will have a truck full to recycle.
I hope they keep it. I hope they don't sell it. You have to admire his passion.
I mean, that's a lot of beer he drank. I'm just saying 9,000.
And remember, cold and free.
Cold and
that's
free.
His favorite.
Sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, that's it for us on Investigate TV Plus. I'm T. Chappelle.
And I'm Lee Zurich. Thanks for watching. On the next Investigate TV Plus, billions of dollars are expected to flow into state and local governments following lawsuits connected to the opioid crisis. But where the money is going isn't always clear.
My concern is that none of this money is going to go help impacted families.
We reveal why few states are sharing how it's been spent.